One of the hardest parts of making a film is actually getting it seen. And this episode of Decide to Do It is going to talk exactly about that. Distribution, how do you get your film out into the world? Today I'm going to talk with Luke out of Pennsylvania to talk about his first feature, TurboCola, and how he's going to approach things differently with his next film. We're also going to talk about the physical media and the future of movie theaters and how we can all work together to actually get our film seen. But without any further delay, let's chat with Luke.
That was a big break for me to get to be able to make a movie with someone else's money. You know, it was a Y2K comedy heist, movie coming of age thing that we had, prepped, and we flew actors in from all over the place and won some cool awards. But like, if you back up from that, my contribution was just like tons of decent short films that never went really viral or anything like that. Tons of music videos, tons of commercials. So I sort of came at this whole thing from a teenager who loved magic tricks and David Blaine and Chris Angel and wanted to do like illusions, and then discovered that filmmaking is kind of basically all an illusion. The idea of tricking people into thinking that dinosaurs are real, or even simpler, like tricking people into thinking that these two people are talking in real time when you might have filmed half the conversation a week before you filmed the second half of the conversation, And so I kind of fell in love with it that way. And a lot of my friends came up through like weddings or photography. I came up through like movies and wanting to make movies. And so, the story of getting TurboCola made is, maybe longer than this, but it was a series of events because of a short film that I made during the COVID lockdowns for no money with my friends. That one little thing sort of triggered this domino effect of all of these things that had to fall into place. And then eventually it landed on me rewriting the script for this movie and getting to direct it, and this whole amazing experience that sent us to Los Angeles and Michigan and Texas and all these different places to get people to see the movie, which was really cool.
I teach film, and so we start with silent films and talk about like George Méliès, and like there's like the Electric Hotel, and there's like these kind of stop motion things early on. And so but I think you're the first filmmaker I've talked to that is like approaching it like a magic trick, which is kind of interesting to hear. That was what like was there a certain film that you saw early on that you were like, oh, that's, because about like those perceptions, but what was it that you saw that was like, I could do this as that?
I mean, I don't think so. Growing up, we had a $2 movie theater like 5 minutes from our house. So it was like, this is the bygone era. Some of the young people here are going to be like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, I went to
we would go to the movie theater. Yeah, exactly, man. They were $1 when I was like 8, and then they doubled the prices to a whopping $2. And so, you get to see, for those who don't know, you'd be late. Like the movies would be three weeks old, a month old, right? But we would go like every week at least. And so, it wasn't like one movie that made me love movies. It wasn't like I watched The Prestige and had my mind blown and was like, oh my gosh, it's all magic, But it was really just this idea of like I was doing parties. It sounds like nerdy, but I was like doing magic tricks at parties for adults, trying to like blow their mind like David Blaine. And then I was filming the tricks and card tricks and all this stuff and putting it up on YouTube. And because there were a lot of people who were like really, really good doing this stuff, and I wanted to be like them at 14 years old. And eventually I just sort of realized that like, hey man, I don't like the magic trick stuff as much as I like filming it, And I had friends at that time, and we were into comedy sketches, and YouTube was a different place back then. It wasn't vlogs. It was like sketch comedy, like Smosh or like Rhett and Link or Julian Smith, or these guys who were just doing literally little funny digital shorts. And so we tried our hand at that and failed miserably, but it sort of spiraled into this offer to be an intern at a commercial studio, and that turned into another job. And the whole time I'm just making short films and trying to get stuff out there, doing 48-hour film festivals and all this stuff. So, from the time I got into it till making TurboCola was literally like 10 years. It was a long little slog of growing up and making a lot of bad short films and then making a few decent ones. And
have you ever put those short films out?
Type of thing. Yeah. Some of them are hidden, on YouTube. Some of them are definitely unlisted, as they should be. It's their rightful place in the universe. But there's a couple still online that are, out there. The one that got me TurboCola wasn't because it was so good it won awards. It's because I hired a stunt guy who was a wannabe producer, and he had a great experience on set with me. I literally had him in my attic for like 5 hours. We shot bang, 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 bang. He left, and then he went to go be an actor on other stuff and just had terrible experiences. which ended up being like really good for me because it made me look like $1 million because all these other directors couldn't get their schedules together. They were wasting time. They were reshooting stuff. And so when he finally got sort of his big break with this script and potential funding, I was the best director he knew at the time. And it just so, because of that one short film, the doors kind of opened, and I can trace it backwards to a bunch of weird little decisions, but that was the first big one.
Yeah, my very first film, the reason I asked is because my very first film was a 10-hour film festival. And I won audience choice and grand prize. It's awful. But I just put it up, like saying basically that I think there is a, sorry, I work out of my garage and here comes a truck. But, I put it up because I was like, as a teacher and as a, like, you know, I've been doing this for so long now that I realized I had never showed my students like my first thing. And I was like, okay, they've only seen like once I become like a professional, like how I know, like now I know how to do it. And so I think seeing those early things, for one, it's just like that little spark of like, oh, what they did in that film, they're doing in this feature. What they're doing here, they're doing over here. And it's like, we're trying to get better at it. But yeah, so I'm trying to challenge. It's good to know that there's one out there. Maybe the very first one will go up at some point. But the reason I never did it, and you might be the same, is that when I was working in all these like corporate things and all these other things trying to get a job, like last thing I wanted you to see was my very first short film. But now that I'm doing it for students and for new filmmakers, I'm like, I don't care. Like, you can see where I started. Hopefully that empowers you.
Totally. I mean, yeah. Different levels of embarrassing too. Like if you're running around with Nerf guns, that's one thing, you know, that'll probably stay hidden forever, I'm guessing.
Yeah, my first film, I built a jib from, you know, like spare lumber because I wanted to do a crane shot for this 10-hour festival. And then I built squibs out of compressed air. And I mean, it's very hokey and everything, awesome, but awesome, you know, it was the last like action-ish movie I made. I never did that again, but it was still very much of a time in college when, you know, I was, you know, 20 years old or whatever. So, so if you could kind of talk through, you know, we're going to talk about what you're trying to create next here in a minute, but could you talk about through the, because you got distribution for TurboCola, so through all these choices. I think what's great is you just said it took 10 years to get from like that first short film to this. So any filmmaker that's listening or artist that thinks it's not going fast enough, that is pretty fast. That's a pretty fast jump to get a feature off the ground.
I think so.
So could you talk about like you get the film done? What's kind of the next steps that you went through to because then you ended up getting distribution. You can watch this film right now. Well, don't watch it right now. Don't turn us off, but you can watch it.
Yeah, pause the video, come back when you're done. No. The process was that Brandon Keaton, the producer of the movie, who I kind of hinted at, I ended up being a co-producer because he'd never produced a movie before. And so I was helping him figure out things like how much does a gaffer cost? And like at the end of the shoot, we have to take back all these rental lights. You know, like somebody has to drive that van back, you know, and it should probably be swept out, you know? And so, but in that, like I was helping sort of line produce everything, but he had all of the business acumen, background and experience. He'd sold his company, like this martial arts studio. He was a successful real estate guy for a while. And so it fell to him to try and distribute the movie. And he told me that when he saw the first cut of the movie, which was pretty rough, like I went over to his house, we put it on the big screen, we watched it. I was just making note after note after note in my phone of all the things I needed to fix, both like glitches and just like taste mistakes, you know? But after that, he was like, this is amazing. Oh no. Because he realized in that moment that the movie was actually pretty good and that if it didn't get seen, it was now on him. Like the actors hadn't screwed it up. I hadn't screwed it up. You know, it's an indie film, so it doesn't look like Hollywood necessarily, but it's not like a terribly cringy bad movie. And he was like, this is good. This is what we set out to make. But he was at ground zero for not knowing at all how to get in touch with distributors, what the process was. So he literally went and he told me, he didn't tell me this in the moment because he was so freaked out. But later he told me that he went and literally just Googled lists of film distributors and cold emailed 30 or 50 that night and got letters back from some people. Like A24 told him never contact us again, which is pretty
Do you
fun.
still have that
because it was like
And,
a cold.
because it was like a cold.
What?
Do you have that
What?
email? I would have printed that and put it on the wall.
Yeah, he's I know, I know. Luckily, I wasn't copied, so I think I'm still allowed to contact them once and then get told not to. But he's barred from A24.
Which is wild because A24
What?
made a movie
What?
that does feel oddly. Uh, yeah. There's some
Yeah.
similarities to the marketing, at least. I don't think
Yeah.
the movie's really the
Yeah.
same because I've seen both of them, but yeah,
No.
there's
No.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah, no.
At least you got an email
And
back,
it was
I
2 years
suppose.
later.
And it was 2 years later.
I know, right?
He emailed you
I know,
2
right?
years later to tell you that.
No, I mean they posted the movie their version of Y2K
Yeah.
2
Like,
years
that's
later.
a
Yeah.
But it
that's a
still means
crazy
people-
email
But it
to
still
send
means
2
people
years
are
later.
mad at me online for ripping off A24, But
That'd be a
that's
wild
all right.
email to get 2 years later. Please
all right.
never contact us again.
Yeah. Honestly, he figured it out though. He got in touch with a bunch of distributors. I don't think those first emails were what got us the deal, but eventually he figured out like how to get in touch with some small indie distributors, and we sort of just climbed the ladder. Like I remember the first company that got back to us and wanted our movie. We looked at their catalog, and it was all Russian language sitcoms and Russian language reality shows, and we were like, why do you guys want an English language Y2K coming of age heist movie? How does this possibly fit in your catalog of films? And we talked to them, but it was really shady. And we talked to about 5 more. And eventually we landed on one that was reputable, that wasn't on any of the no-fly lists, because you can find these lists online of like, I got burnt by this company. I won't say names, but this one and this one and this one and this one. And they never paid me a dime. We got onto a company that was reputable, and they offered us a 70-30 split, which is we keep 70% of the money and they take 30, which is not a bad deal. For the traditional distribution world, that's not a terrible deal. And we signed with them, and they sort of held our hand through quality control and which is where your film can get rejected by the big, this, but for your audience, the film can get rejected by Amazon or Apple or whoever because you have a dropped frame here, or your audio's too loud here, or too quiet here, or whatever it is. And so they send you back this insane spreadsheet of just all of the little tiny tweaks you need to make to fit their quality guidelines. And so they held our hand through that. They got us on all these blogs, these review sites. We got Rotten Tomato reviews. We were on, the reason we won Indie Movie of the Year in 2023 is because they got us on to Film Threat's blog as a review, and they gave us a 9 out of 10 on their score, which was amazing. And not everybody gave us that high of a score, but they did. And eventually we went out to LA for the award show, and the guys who were running the place were like, so Luke, what are you going to do if you win all the cash, the grand prize? And I'm like, that's really cruel of you to say. Like, I'm just a kid here. Like, I don't like that's funny that you're saying that. And then we sat in the seats, and they called our name, and we won the grand prize, 2 of them. We won best movie and best comedy. And all of that is because our distributor held our hand through all this and helped us do it all. So that paints a really rosy picture of distribution.
Yeah, mine were a little bit different. Yeah, mine were. Yeah, that's people that are listening, 70-30 is very generous. Yeah, if you can get 50-50, that's a lot. I was talking to somebody who was trying to put a budget together and was doing points, and I was like, you have 50%. You don't have 100%. So, like, once you get that level, like, somebody's going to take another half. And if you've already given away 50% of points, that means you're down to 0. So, like, keep that in mind.
Yeah, do the math right the first time, for sure. I will say on the back side of all that, even though that sounds like a glowing review, if anybody's ever done traditional distribution before, you know that the money gets sort of siphoned away at tons of little inception levels of accounting, where everything that they did for us was really nice, but it wasn't free. And because they know we're indie filmmakers and we spent all of our money on the budget, on the actors and the hotels and the whatever, they just charge you back for it out of the profits of the movie. And I'm not telling you anything you don't know, but every time your movie sells, yes, you keep 70% of the 50%. Amazon takes half, so you keep 70 of the 50. But after they pay back their marketing, their poster art, their DVDs, their, the kind of lawyer-like hours, that they track. And so by the end of
our first one, we got 50-50, and they recut the trailer, they redid a poster, they renamed the movie, like they had this whole vision. Thankfully they didn't charge us for any of it. That was like, so they didn't even charge us to get it on those, like they didn't charge us like the aggregator fees to get on those platforms. But we made $1,700 in 5 years. And the last email I got, and I mean, if is I have 13 cents for you. That was the last email I got from him, and that was 2 years ago, and I still haven't gotten that 13 cents. So, yeah, I think.
Well, they had to pay for a stamp, and that cost more than 13 cents. So technically, you owe them 14 cents now, and it's unfortunate.
Yeah, I think our stamp's like 52 cents now, so I probably owe more. I probably plus interest, plus this, plus this. So the filmmakers that are getting distribution, and I don't know, when did you sign? Are you guys out of your deal, or are you still in it?
So we hit the first milestone where we could get out of it if we wanted to. And I think it was like 7 years, but there was a stipulation in there that was like at a certain point we could request to cancel the deal,
I had one of those as well.
to sort of foreshadow, I guess, basically what we said was, can we go non-exclusive? Like, because here's the problem people might not know is they got us on Apple TV, Amazon Prime, and Tubi, and Google Play, and all these Microsoft whatever. And if we cancel our deal, our movie comes down from all of those places.
Now that's gone. Yeah, everything's gone.
Yep. And so that's the difference between going straight to an aggregator, where you can just get it and kind of stay up there. And so for us, it's like, even though we have this sort of new plan of how we want to do the distribution for the next movie, but also for this movie, TurboCola, like in perpetuity, the question to them was, can we just go non-exclusive? Can you keep us on all of the platforms we're currently on, the same split, the same everything, but just kind of unlock that door that if we end up on some new platform that happens to come out at some point, that we can do that without you guys being involved. And they kind of came back and said, no, well, maybe. So we're sort of in discussion now with how exactly we'd have to reformat that, because we really don't want to come down all those platforms and do the whole rigmarole.
I mean, I would get emails basically every quarter of like what I'd been removed from. And you brought up a good point that these platforms come and go so fast that it's, I mean, like I was on, Ultraviolet. I was on Voodoo. I was on, the list went on and on. At one point, I think it was on like 75 different platforms around the world, and I still didn't know how many times the movie had been watched. Like, I never got any of that information. And so I'm foreshadowing to the people that want to stick around for the end of this conversation. About what we're going to talk about. But I think we have to talk more, because I signed my first deal in 2017, I think. And 2017 or 2018, maybe it's 2017, for the horror. And, like you were saying, it was this long list of people. We had some that were interested. We got some of the weirdest pieces of feedback, of people being like, we love the movie, but there's nobody in it. And I was like, well, there's like 8 actors in it. Make them into somebody, or whatever is in your head. One of my favorites was, could you go re-film or add a scene with a name actor in it? And I remember asking them, I was like, well, where would you like that scene to be? And they go, well, wherever you want it. And I was like, I gave you the movie I wanted. Like, you want this. And so it was just like the weirdest things. And so I think distributors, because it's so much of the business side that, and I'm sure it's gotten worse with all the analytics and the AI and everything, that's like everything is a calculated number. So, and what I've found out for 15, 20 years in this, creative business is that it's about 90% luck of when it comes out. Like, did you time it right? Did it come out on the right day? Did it get spread? I mean, our first film was released on Amazon Prime, and they sent out a dead link in every press release to like 1,000 people. So that was how we premiered our film on Amazon, was the distributor sent a dead link that was not active. And you're like, well, we're done. Like, and that's basically the beginning of the end. And now we're in a 5-year deal. And so.
Yeah. That's one of the wildest things I've heard so far. Honestly.
It was rough, and I was just like, "Well, what are we gonna do to fix this?" And they're like, man, it was a rough way to start a 5-year deal, was with a dead link.
Yeah, that's
after because you said you got a lot of press. I did a very similar thing to what your producer did. When we got to that phase, we had no clue what we were doing, and I just started Googling every distributor that was out there taking movies in our kind of budget range or our style, and Yeah, and it was a lot of no's, and and the people that actually said no came back. They started a different side of their distribution wing that was not just exclusively horror, and that's what we got on. And then, but we found out very very early on, like once we found out what those words meant, because you brought them up, was like what an aggregator is and what a distributor is. And so do you have an aggregator or do you have a distributor, or are they doing both?
Oh, me personally?
Your deal. Because mine was only an aggregator, basically. They stopped at that point. And I was like, I didn't know that because that word was not really being shoveled around in 2017. Now it's a little bit more widespread.
Yeah, ours was both. And so I don't actually know the secret mechanics of whether they're technically an aggregator themselves or whether it's just one of those inception levels of accounting that they just partner with someone else who charges them and then they charge us.
Ours was that one.
And that's probably why. No, it's probably why they didn't charge you so much if they were an aggregator.
So knowing kind of a little bit of your backstory, I think this is a good place to pivot for those of that are still listening, because what we're doing now, because we've all learned that this distribution world is, if you're working in these budgets, unfortunately, what my distributor or aggregator or whatever they wanted to call themselves, what they said of like a person with a name, that's really kind of the only way in the current distribution model is if you can leverage somebody else's kind of reach, if you will. And so, but we started talking, I think this has come up pretty soon for you, right? This is pretty fast. Like I've been watching it over the last couple of months and it's really kind of, so if you could talk about what you're trying to do for distribution kind of moving forward, and then, we'll kind of bounce back and forth about, how we're trying to change this moving forward.
Yeah. So I guess the broad brushstroke is I'm building a platform, like a website where filmmakers can sell direct to fans, which makes some people mad because they're like, how dare you try and build Netflix again or build YouTube? It's like, it's not that. It's more like a way that filmmakers can get the tools that they need access to do real marketing for their film, to see real numbers, to keep, the numbers we're looking at is like 90-10 split. Like they keep 90% of the money of every sale and they sell video rentals online. The rationale behind it is that I come from a marketing background. So like even like this morning I was filming for that marketing client of mine and all that. And the idea, what struck me is when I got into traditional distribution with TurboCola, the data you get back is so slow, so vague, and so unvettable, you can't test it at all, that it blew my mind. Because for me, 3 months in, if you don't know, they send you a quarterly report.
Right? If they send it to you on the quarter.
It comes on the quarter, yes.
Yeah, I mean, some of mine were a year behind. Yeah, that's like,
Yep. And I'm sitting there, we launch our movie, they're doing marketing of our movie, I'm doing some marketing of our movie, I'm posting on TikTok like crazy. I've never posted on TikTok before, but I'm like, I might as well. Some clips are going viral, like hundreds of thousands of views, nothing insane, but still a lot. And in my mind, as a marketer, I'm going, I want to see what of this is working. Are my Facebook ads working? Is 8 cents per click, 3 cents per click, is that turning into money or not? But when you send anybody online to Amazon, Apple TV, Tubi, YouTube video rentals or whatever, you lose them. There's no way to tell if what you're doing is turning into sales for the movie. And so I had to wait for 3 months doing all this work. And then I finally get sent an Excel file and I open it up and it says the date range, the platform, and then just a round number. And my mind explodes because I'm like,
that too. And you're like, this is crazy. I don't even know. It's like 5 lines.
Like what? What?
And here's your 50%.
Yeah. It wasn't even broken down by week or definitely not day, definitely not hour. There was no sort of ability to look at the graph of like, hey, that TikTok went mildly viral. What happened the next day? Did we sell 6 copies? Did we sell no copies? Did we sell 80 copies? Because if I knew that, well, I'd put all my eggs into the viral TikTok basket. Or, hey, when I ran that Facebook ad and was getting those 3 cent cost per clicks, did our sales go up or did nothing happen? Because if nothing happened, I'm going to stop doing that thing. So the problem is that technology is in every industry online except for movie making. Like if you sell a product on Amazon, if you sell a product on Facebook, if you sell something on Etsy, whatever it is, Shopify exists, all these different things exist. And if you want to, you can set it so that when you sell something, your phone buzzes and you go, oh, interesting, I just sold something. And you click and see where that person came from. Or even better, someone buys something and you get their email address, and then you can sell them something else later. And those email lists have become so valuable because when Instagram goes away, well, you still have these emails. And even if you don't email them personally, you can feed those into whatever the next platform is and be like, go find me these people or people like them. And so, I mean, the systems that are out there, it's like you spend an hour watching a YouTube video on how to run Facebook ads and you're kind of a pro, especially if you're a filmmaker. So these platforms are so easy to use, but you're doing it blind. And that's just literally burning money. Like my clients would fire me if I sent them back the same Excel spreadsheet that my distributor sent me. They'd be like, this looks like you're doing nothing.
Yeah, I remember early, because like we did points and things like that, and I would send, like a $25 or $30 Venmo to an actor, like when we got, the $300 or whatever. And it feels almost embarrassing because it's like, they know now that I've gotten distribution. They know that I'm on like 100 different platforms around the world. They know that this company, and it's like, and I'm still telling them like, I know it sounds weird, but I'm not making any money. And so what you bring up, and I think what we all find, because I did it twice, I did it a little bit different the second time around, same result. It was still like, this company called themselves the Netflix of indies. That was their terminology, not mine. I didn't call them that. And
it's a bold statement.
Yeah, mine was a 2 or 3 year deal with 1 year exclusive. And then they had something called a target minimum guarantee. And basically they were like, if it makes this much money, then we go exclusive for the next 2 years. So it like put some of the ball in their court. And I think they said that their target minimum guarantee on our second feature was going to be like $90,000 is what they thought it could make in the first year. For reference, we spent about $19,000 on the movie. So of course I was like,
sure.
Even if you make a third of that, we've made our money back. Great. They missed it by about, $95,800. Like, I think it made $1,200 in 2 years or something. And so I was like, I don't know how you can look people in the face, tell them that that's what you think is going to happen, and then it just is like nothing. There's no transparency. And so you bring up a really good point, though. Whenever, my school closed down, so I'm doing this in this capacity now. And so the first thing I was like, I know what I'm going to do is I'm going to go try to monetize a YouTube. Because like that is what every filmmaker I think is going to have to do that wants to self-distribute moving on. You're going to have to control where your audience is at. Not necessarily control, but know at least where it's at and have some data. And even these companies that have a ton of data, it's like, I don't know. Like I'll look at how many views are on a video on YouTube, and then you'll look in the studio and they don't match because they're like, we haven't verified and we haven't done this. It's like nobody really knows how any of these metrics work. So could you talk about like what... if somebody's listening and they're like, okay, this sounds great. I could take this platform. I could bring my own audience, which I've heard you say a lot. So just so everybody knows, it's like, you're not doing the marketing. That's why it's 90-10 split. Like you're going to have to bring your own audience. But what else is going to be kind of special about this if a filmmaker wants to go down this path? And because I am doing the self-distribution, I'm doing it, like I'm doing the physical version of what you're doing right now. And it's still very difficult to pitch that to somebody because I think everybody thinks it's like a get rich quick kind of scheme. Once you know how films are made and how much money they don't make, it's like you're going to have to, it's a long game. It's like I'm playing like a 20-year game right now, and this is 6 months in. So if you could just explain a little bit about what's going to be different of a platform like this versus like these other ones that have kind of come and gone.
Yeah, I've been lovingly calling it BYOA, bring your own audience, because the truth, and I've talked to, that's not the title of the platform, it's just how I've been, telling people the gist. Every filmmaker I've talked to is in one of 3 states. They're either sort of naively optimistic, right? Because they haven't done this yet, they haven't released a movie yet, or lucky, because they released one movie and then A24 hired them for their next movie and now they're millionaires. Talk to one guy like that, and it's awesome. Like, I'm glad. Or the third state is just jaded, which is like where I sort of fall into trying to not be toxically jaded. People like you who've released movies twice and are sick of the system. So my platform's only kind of for that third person, because the first person's naively optimistic. And to me, it's like, dude, go out there and give it a shot. Maybe, maybe you'll be the 1% edge case of like, your movie blows up traditionally. And then for the other guys who have massive movies, it doesn't make sense because their movies are making so much money that they can hire for themselves. So for me, there's this echelon of filmmakers, and I'm having a lot of Zoom calls with them. And I'd say 8 out of 10 people fall into this third category of just like, dude, I've been burnt by distribution. They said they were going to do all the marketing, and I ended up doing it anyway. That's the sort of, yep. And that's the mindset that is the biggest hurdle, is this phrase, I want to be a filmmaker, not a film marketer. And it's like, dude, me too. We all just want to write, direct, shoot, edit with coffee in our hand, go to the premiere, do question and answers. You know what I mean? Like, that's what we want to do. The problem is 8 out of 10 people I talk to, they all started with that, and then they slowly found themselves accidentally having to market their own movie. Because like in our case, our distributor stopped after 3 months when they weren't getting paid back for their marketing efforts, or in your case, they didn't do it at all or whatever. So my pitch to people is, you're already going to have to do the marketing, or your movie's going to sit on a shelf somewhere. And that's fine if that's what you want. But I don't know how people go and make more movies, because the number one thing I get asked by investors is, how did your movie do? Did it make its money back? And when I say it didn't, and they say, well, how much did it make back? And I go, let me sift through 18 different Excel files to tell you that. There's this sort of big holdup where it's like filmmakers don't have any control. So yeah, it's a 90-10 split. That's the sexy part. But the real part, the reason I'm building it for me to use, is because I want to know, I want to pop the bubble. Like, how much am I making? Who's buying my movie? We're doing testing, fun stuff like which trailer is better. Like, we'll A/B test trailers and posters and log lines, so that when traffic hits the website, it either goes to page A or page B of your film. And so you literally get to see not which trailer do I emotionally like better, but which one makes me money. Like, when I look at page A, it converts at 12%. When I look at page B, it converts at 2%. I like page B, but page A makes me money. And so I know that probably people are going to sleep now, but it's like, how do we give people that data? How do we tell them like, hey, 80% of people clicked your trailer and then 2% bought? I think something's wrong with your trailer, because they're all clicking it. So your poster's good, your log line's good, your synopsis is good, but there's this weird bottleneck. And for me, if I wanted to go test a new poster on my Amazon Prime listing, they're going to like take me out back and like just leave me there, because like they don't want to let people do that. They don't want to give you the data for that. For people who don't know, you can't see any of this information on those other platforms. So that's the type of stuff I want to be able to do. I also want to give people the emails of everyone who buys their movies. And the truth is, and then I'll stop rambling, like, you can build a Squarespace site for your movie, put it on a Vimeo on demand thing, embed that, put a Stripe link there, sell one-time rentals, sell downloads, and do like 75% of what the site I'm building will do. The goal for me is to make it like a no-brainer, that it's all of that stuff and more, but you don't have to do any of the sort of coding and YouTube tutorial watching to piece all that together. And also it feels like you're with other good movies instead of just on your own site. Because the reason I didn't put TurboCola on my site and sell it that way is it felt like I was trying to get people to come out to my car and buy a DVD in the parking lot. It's like I couldn't make it anywhere else, so I just had to build it on my own site and do it that way. So I'm trying to give people a little bit more social proof. And we have some cool ways that we're going to make sure we have good movies on the platform without being curators. That's something I'm pretty proud of. It's kind of make it very performance based, but I mean that's a fire hose of random stuff.
When we first started talking, and so because like I'm trying, I'm going to the physical world of it. Like, it's like I want to have a movie theater for independent filmmakers. I want to have their films on physical media, because like you were saying, these websites come and go, and once they disappear, like when I found out, I probably had 50 or 60 movies on like major motion pictures on an ultraviolet account. And if you're listening now and going, what's ultraviolet exactly? So those just disappear. And but all these independent distributors I have, that these filmmakers that maybe that was the only time, and maybe be worth reaching out to them to talk to them about their experience from this company that no longer exists. But what are you doing for, all right, to poke a couple holes in it, because I don't know all about it?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
What do you, because like you were saying, there is a jaded, like 1/3 of probably people you're talking about are like, okay, I've heard this before. A website's going to give me access to all of this. And it's because it's the pitch we all get. They're like, I'm going to give you this, this, and this. When I sold my first movie or aggregator or whatever they want to call it. I was like, all I want is the data, and I want to eventually be on physical media. It took 7 years, and then I had to start a physical media distribution company. It never happened. So what do you say to like a filmmaker that is, because you're going to use it too, and so like, how are you like easing the mind of a filmmaker that it's like, this data is going to be yours, but you're also going to be using it as well, because your films would be on there. So like, how do you make sure that a filmmaker goes like, okay, how do I know you're not using my audience, or you're only feeding more people to your film? Like, what are you talking to filmmakers about that? Because the coding is like, we'll never know how the website is coded. Like, we'll never know the back end of any of these places. If you could just explain a little bit of that'd be great.
Yeah, man. There's two thought processes here that are sort of conflicting, I would say worldviews or maybe personality types, in my opinion. So the one says, can I make, people are familiar with this term, can I white label your website, right? Which means, can I take off all of your branding, like Vimeo kind of offers this, right? And can I just make it, the haunting of XYZ, house.com. And that's the opposite of what we're trying to do. What we're trying to do is have a snowball effect where the benefit of being on the platform is that, you drive 1,000 people to the website to get to your movie. 500 of them buy. I mean, that's a crazy result. We'll just pretend that. We get 500 emails. Yeah, that'd be amazing. That's what's going to happen, I swear. No, and then I drive 1,000 people, 500 emails. Now the platform has 1,000 emails, right? You have 500 that are yours. You have 500 that are yours. Someone else does the same thing, 500 more. The front page, the browse page is going to be completely meritocratic. So people are going to vie to hit the front page. Most rented all time, most tipped all time, most tipped this week. We're doing 100% of the tips go to Filmmakers. It's like a little pop-up when your credits roll. And so literally it's, if you can be the most sold, one of the top 5 most sold movies that month, you hit that front page where all those people are. And this is future down the line. I can't pitch this as like day one, right? Because this takes build time of the audience. It's more like building of getting traffic, data, people buyers, basically happy buyers who've watched a good movie and are glad we have their email. Eventually it becomes, man, if I'm the top seller month 1, I get blasted out to every email every filmmaker has ever collected. So we're sort of all putting emails into the pot. We're all putting viewers into the pot. And eventually you go real hard when your movie launches. You push really hard that first month to try and hit that email feature and go out to 150,000 people who we know buy indie movies because they did once. And so it's this thing where it's like, mindset 1 is, I don't want you to have my data. I don't want you to know these people. These are my people. Mindset 2 is, I'm way too small to play this by myself. And so that's the whole reason that you would put your movie on a platform like this, is because of the accidental crossover sales. And that's the reason the movies have to be good, because if somebody watches a movie and it's trash, they're going to leave and never come back. If they watch a movie and it's good, and we email them a coupon code for another movie, and we take the hit on that coupon code, like you don't even know someone used a coupon to watch your movie. You just see $4.50 ding on your phone, right? Then that sort of ethic of like, or ethos, I guess, of like, you bring someone here and then they go buy someone else's movie. Well, that's ad dollars they didn't have to spend to get that second sale. So that snowball effect to me is the massive win. And like you said, it's like, you don't know if Amazon's lying to you about how many sales you got. You don't know if Spotify is fudging the numbers on artists they like. So there is a massive trust factor, but the thing that won't be trust-based is like when you get paid out every week, we're not going to touch your money, or you get paid out every day by Stripe, and it's like real American dollars, not 3 months later. You know what I mean? So the main thing is like, it's not perfect. It's just what I wish existed.
I think what's great and why I wanted to chat with you was both of the things that we're building because it's something we asked for now through 3 films I've asked for it. And I'm realizing why they said no. It's because it's difficult. But the bare minimum though feels that I think filmmakers forget that this is like a distributor works for you. It's not, I don't work for the distributor, and there's some breakdown with this. It's like I'm giving you 50%, 70%, 30%, whatever I'm giving you is like, and it's the same with like actors and agents and managers and the way that this business is kind of built. And like you were saying, these kind of these lines of accounting that keep going throughout. Oh, you still there?
Did I lose you?
Oh yeah, just the video just went away for a second, but you're still there.
Can you still hear me?
Yeah, you're good.
All right, cool.
So all these different levels of bureaucracy, if you will, and there's always a place like, I mean, I'm sure if anybody's listening has heard the terms Hollywood accounting, I'm putting that in air quotes, but it's a very crafty way of, closing the gate and being like, we'll look at the numbers back here and then tell you what we think you get. And it's happened since the very beginning of time. This isn't a new thing. That's how films have always worked. There's just more... there's more of us talking about it now as opposed to going like, we need to work with those people. And one of the things I keep saying is like, if you knew your movie wasn't going to make any money to begin with, how would you handle this? And I think that's where we're both kind of at now is like, oh, well, what? I did an in-person thing on Friday at a movie rental store where I sold copies of DVDs, and I sold 2, and I was over the moon. I'm like, I only made $20 minus the cost of being there for 4 hours or whatever. So it's like no money, but I think there are some choices that artists are now currently making that are future proofing. So they at least, it's like what I'm making today and 10 years from now, I'm going to still be able to talk to that person that bought it. Like I'm going to still be able to share like my next thing with them. And so, I think there will be, or it feels like to me, cause it might just be my jaded of like, I've heard that before where they're like, you're going to get the data and then you've heard it too. And so what are you doing in kind of like when you're talking to filmmakers currently? Because this is just a wait list, right? This is not open to anybody currently. When filmmakers are coming in with that, like how are you easing their mind that I'm a filmmaker, I'm doing this because it's something I want, but also I'm not trying to leverage your community to just buy my movie? Because I think that's what happened with my second film, which was like all digital, is like they produced a movie in between mine coming out and then I just like nothing happened with my film.
Well, I haven't had that pushback yet. I've probably had 30 or 40 calls. I haven't had anybody concerned about the data sharing side.
Oh, that's great.
At all.
So you must already be building a little bit of trust then. From what
I guess, yeah. And I think, it's a good question. It's not a bad question. The main thing that I think is key is that I really don't want to be a distributor, right? And I'm not just saying that. Like the platform is no contract, no exclusivity. So it's just an option, right? And the reason that people would stay is because they like it. So for me, it's like, I'm not trying to woo anybody into a relationship. It's like my dream, actually weirdly, my dream scenario. Well, my dream scenario is you sell $6 million of movies and I get 10% of that, right? But my realistic dream scenario is you join the platform, you make a ton of sales, you get 3,000 emails for your next movie, and then you end up in a meeting with somebody who says, what numbers did your movie do last time? And you say, well, you could trust me or let me just show you. You pull up the dashboard, right, that has all the graphs and the analytics, and you spin your computer around and you say, this is what my movie did last time. And that investor or that real distributor, whoever they are, goes, oh, interesting. I see exactly how you sold. Like I see the numbers. This is how much money you made. This is the projection. This is how much you spent on marketing, you're saying. So you're above. And it's like, I didn't make my money back, but this was my result. Or I did make my money back and here's the proof, right? And so and then great scenario, they leave to go do something bigger and better. But I get like an exit interview with them and I get to say like, hey, Stanley made $90,000 on this website, on his movie. Hey, George made $8,000 in the first 2 months, whatever it is. Because for me, it's about optimism and it's about like dismantling this idea that we don't have any power or any control. And to do that, it's not just like good ideas, like, oh, that would be cool to keep 90%. It's gotta be like, this dude who I did not know until he put his movie on the platform made this much money and had this much success and then went on to do this next. And here's exactly how he did it. Like that type of stuff to me will get filmmakers re-excited to make movies. And then if that guy leaves and never comes back, it's like, great. He's one of our Hall of Fame. He graduated. He's a rock star, you know?
This is, I mean, you're very similar of what I'm doing in the digital space and the physical. It's like, I want to help you get your movie on physical media. You are going to get money off. It's drop shipped. So as soon as it does it, I'll ship it. And then, end of the month, you get your money. And this is just a leg on your distribution platform. No, I don't want to be a distributor. That's too much work. I want to keep making films. But I do want to offer what has brought me joy out of making films again. It's like that they can actually be seen. It's 5 years of distribution. I have no clue who has actually watched this movie, which is wild that I don't, and nobody was talking about that when they were selling movies. Because I think there's like this fantasy world of it's like, it's sold, they're just going to write you checks indefinitely. And then you get a year into this deal and, maybe a year into the deal, it's not even up where people can watch it yet. I mean, I feel like that quality control thing you were talking about earlier. I remember we had what was considered a drop frame. It was like a glitch effect I made towards the end of the video that triggered the Amazon quality control. And I was like, I have a DCP of that. I can show you the actual frame. It's not a glitch. But I had to go back in and I had to remove that and I had to like layer over like a baked in clip that wouldn't trigger it. So it was one individual thing. And there's just all these little things throughout the road. And even after you sign that deal, it could be forever before it ever gets out because it's kind of in their world now. They have 5 years to do whatever they want with it. Man. And if they want to shelf it, like you said, that's happened to major motion pictures where that movie's never coming out. And there's so many people that work on these things that so what's one of the biggest roadblocks you're running into right now with not necessarily the coding and everything of like that, but of like how to get this, I guess maybe pitched in the right way to get this in front of people and because that's one of the other goals of like these interviews is like to kind of share that news. So like what's a kind of you were talking about some bottlenecks in other things. What's a bottleneck in this one? You're like, I can't figure this part out.
So right now, I mean, the response has been, I'm not going to say 100% positive, but like weirdly 98% positive. You know what I mean? Which is amazing. The wait list grew a lot faster, a lot quicker, with a lot more engagement than I ever imagined. So, I mean, just to put it in perspective, like I was never really an Instagram guy and I went from like 2,000 followers to 16,000 followers in a couple weeks, which is like a weird jump that like I was not angling. I was posting stuff about it, but I wasn't like, please like, follow, subscribe for more. So like the hunger here, and some of the people who are following me are like Michelle Rodriguez from Fast and Furious, or like IMDb Pro, or Jeremy Piven from Entourage, or Jamie Foxx just followed me, right? And so it's like, it's in the air a little bit, this idea, and they're all, the reason I can see why, like how they followed is from talking about self-distribution. It's not from, how to use an ND filter, or here, come buy my course. It's like, this is how people are using self-distribution to make money. And even these massive stars seem to be like unhappy, which is funny. From our perspective, it's funny or sad maybe, but like, they're still like grasping at straws with like, why isn't the industry working for them? So to me, the biggest roadblock is mentally, I think, and this will maybe piss some people off, the whole time you're making a movie, it's art, right? And it has to be. It's supposed to be. And if it's not art, it sucks. And that's when we get, I don't know, Star Wars 92 or something like that, right? It's like, it has to be art. The acting, the writing, the editing, the poster, the everything is art. But then there's a point where it becomes a product to sell. And I think most indie filmmakers refuse to make that jump. They refuse to make that leap until it starts to hurt too bad and until nobody's seeing their movie. And they're like, it's not about money. I don't care about money. I just want to make art. And then they go to someone and say, can I make more art? And they say, but how much money did it make? And they go, oh crap, I should have cared about the money a little bit more because now I'm locked in. I can't make another movie unless I go kickstart something and my aunt gives me money, And so it's like, there's this crucial moment where it's like, the movie's done, and now you need to flip it into being a product. And so and I'm not trying to convert people from that mindset. I'm just running into that. The sort of 2 out of 10 people I'm talking to don't want to make that switch. And I can tell because after 30 minutes on Zoom of just chatting, they say things like, well, how do you get viewers? How do you get this? Does the platform do this? They start to say, yeah, but which distribution companies do you like? Could you give me a couple names of who's not doing the whole shady thing? And like, have you heard of this company? What do you think of them? They're good, right? And it sort of shifts back into the old mindset of like, who can help me do this? And I think the reason distribution companies are successful compared to filmmakers is that they make that switch immediately. They speak art to the filmmaker, they get a really crazy good deal, and then they speak product to the world and they sell the movie and keep all the money. So that's maybe the biggest holdup I'm seeing.
Yeah, I mean, I've said this ad nauseum to like students and stuff, and it's like the reason you start doing this is because you have something you want to talk about. Like you want to share your way of seeing the world with other people, and we do that for fun. And and then I did 15 years in the film industry as a gaffer and a director and all kinds of things, and it somehow becomes a little less fun because it's all business now, and so the creativity kind of gets stripped away because when you work on commercials that are that expensive, there's no experimenting. It's like, we're going to light it exactly the way we know it's going to light because we're trying to sell something. And then when you come back into it and you try to bend those worlds together, that part is very, very tough because, most artists, we don't want to think about the money of it. I don't want to think about the money of it because I'm making it for another reason when I'm making it. If I was making it to make money, I would have made a drastically different decision at every step of the production. I wouldn't have made this film. I would have made something else. And so, but I think playing this like marathon instead of a sprint is like you're trying to find your people. And what I've learned from starting a YouTube basically kind of from scratch. It'd been open for 13 years, but there was nobody really on it because it was just my name to watch stuff on TV. And when I started doing that, it's a very humble experience doing this for almost 20 years and then getting 14 views on a video and having, one subscriber a week. But then I started thinking and I was like, wait a second, I premiered at Rain Dance in London and there were 17 people in the crowd. It's like, this video got 300 people to watch it. I think we're starting to see a shift in people's mentality of like, 100,000 views on a TikTok. Can you, like, I don't think people can fathom how many people that is. Imagine 10 people knocking on your door to want to watch your movie. You'd be over the moon. And so we got to change this kind of like the numbers thing is getting really irrational. And it's like, if it doesn't make 1 million, you're like, it's just, that's not a realistic, like, but we've found a way through the money. Like I can basically pay to get 1 million people to watch this to get the number up, which throws it further up. And so there's a lot of things with that I think we just as filmmakers got to start talking about like the reality of it. And you're like, when you're doing these screenings, I mean, like most theaters are a couple hundred people. So even if you sell out, it's like, you think 1 million people should watch your movie? I don't think nobody deserves, like, I don't deserve your time unless it's something you really want to watch. And I'd rather have 1,000 people that love it than 1 million people that were like, it's okay. Like,
and that's one of the things that I think, like Letterboxd just came out with a platform, which is cool, right? Letterboxd video store. And I assumed, I've been saying for a while they should come out with a platform because I think they're perfectly set up to it. They have such goodwill with the film community. Like, I don't know anybody who hates Letterboxd.
I've never met
$20 rentals might change their mind.
Yeah. Yeah. And then it's like, man, and then I found out that they weren't, that they were exclusive and that you kind of needed an invite or you needed a distributor to get you on there. And I was like, that's too bad. They probably couldn't figure out the quality game, They probably couldn't quite figure out how to make sure bad movies didn't get up there. Fair enough. But then when I saw that the first movies on there were like you said, $20 to rent, I was like, what is going on? Because I get it that one viewer for $20 is the same money as four for $5. 4 viewers for $5. The problem is they're like, those 4 viewers, that's 4 rolls of the dice to generate like a super fan or generate like an evangelist for your movie. So to me, it's like, why? I don't know. I'm confused as to what they're doing, and maybe it is set your own pricing, and those filmmakers were just kind of full of themselves. But I'm curious to see where the industry is going because it feels like everyone's floundering and sort of like guessing and being like, we're not making any money, so we're cranking prices to $20. And it's like, that's not the solution. I don't think that's the solution.
Yeah, the first thing I did when you did that, because I mean, I've been following it. This is a very new thing, so we're going to learn more over the next couple of weeks. I think we're in the first month of it. And the first thing I did was like, I Googled, like, how much does the filmmaker make? And there's no data anywhere. And you're like,
no data.
And then I looked up, and I think that just actually sold to, it's a company called Tiny, which is like an investment firm. It sold a couple years ago.
Letterboxd.
Yeah. So there is a corporation thing that has now gotten baked into that. It's not the original like two guys from 2010. I think they still own like 70 or 80% of it, so they're creating the vision for it. But a private equity firm came into it not too long ago. And so you're like, okay, it's going to be a very similar thing to what we've seen before. And it's like, they're not going to tell you how much these filmmakers are making. So even if they're making 50%, that's 10. But I mean, I'll be honest, like even DVDs at $12 or rentals on my website for $5, like that's still very hard because you just don't know who I am. So and I mean, and I don't understand this $20 rental at home. Like you're trying to ruin the movie theaters as your goal or whatever, but movie theaters are seeming more like you should go there for $6 on a Tuesday if it's going to be $20 here.
100%.
Yeah, that'll be a weird, I mean, we'll learn a lot more over the next, but it doesn't seem like in a very goodwill area right now because there's no transparency for the filmmakers again. And so like kind of what we've been talking over this hour is that all these things that kind of come out, they come out and they have a good idea and then too much money gets attached. And then it's like, we can turn this into a short-term gain really quick. And I don't care if it lasts for a long time. And I hope I'm wrong with the Letterboxd thing, but that's very much what it feels like currently. Because the fact that I can't look up and see how much these filmmakers are making, and you're selling indie films, that's what you're marketing now. So ideally, you need more indie filmmakers to submit their movies to keep this going. And it'll be it'll be interesting to learn how this pans out over the next kind of 6 months. But any filmmakers that are listening right now, if you don't have a distributor, you're not just going to be able to sell on Letterboxd. That's not the
And when I first heard they were doing it, I was like, well, maybe I can just stop building what I'm building. I'll call off the developer, because like, I was like, hey, as long as it's good, I'll use it. I just want something to exist. And like, then I keep hearing more, and I think you nailed it, which is that the issue isn't $20 a rental, because that's something they could just patch in 2 seconds, right? They could change that immediately. The issue is the not disclosing the splits to me, because the revenue splits, because what that says is that they're playing the distributor game of, depending on who you are, you're going to get a different deal. Like that's what that game is. And so, the new whatever, Andy Samberg movie is going to get an 80-20 split, right? Because, Letterboxd wants the movie there. And so Andy Samberg will get 80%. But then I'm going to get offered, a 40% deal or something, and it's like, I get it. From a business perspective, that's great. But from a filmmaker forward perspective, it's the same reason Amazon Prime won't send you emails of people that buy, or Apple TV won't send you data of who's buying when. It's like, it benefits them. It doesn't benefit the filmmaker. And I know we can't expect these people to be nonprofits, but I would have expected, from the way Letterboxd has behaved for years, keeping it free and everything, that they would have been a little bit more like pro filmmaker or something.
Yeah, when I looked it up, I think it was a couple years ago. A private equity firm bought into some of it, so that's probably going to start changing a little bit. I hope I'm wrong, because it is a very cool platform. I mean, it was like the only place my students could follow me. I'd write movie reviews on there and be like, so it's like we're talking about film, and like it was an interesting way to communicate with these younger artists. And I was like, that's the only place I will follow you on until you're an adult and graduated. But I was like, while we're talking about movies, it's totally fine. But yeah, there's gonna be those kind of things there. So we have about 10 more minutes. So what I would like to do is what's something that with this, I think everybody right now is very scared of the shifts. Me personally, I'm very optimistic. I think it's exactly what it needs to do. This industry was built on kind of predatory deals, and that's back to the silent era. It started that way, so we're starting to weed those things out. But what's something you're like really kind of optimistic about this new wave of filmmaking and getting things seen? Like, what's something that's like, making you excited to keep making films over the next 10 years?
Yeah, I mean, the maybe the boring techie answer is I'm excited that these massive companies see revenue potential in video on demand. That is shocking to me. Like Letterboxd wouldn't have announced this massive thing, especially if they're now of whatever venture capital firm or something. Like they just wouldn't have done that. Like Amazon Prime would have like shut down their rental department. Apple TV would have shut down their rental department, but they're all expanding, which to me says that they are looking at all the numbers that I don't have, and they're projecting that it's getting bigger and bigger. So I think for me that's exciting on a nerdy techie perspective because it means that people are renting movies, buying movies. The other thing that I'm kind of weirdly excited about is that subscription fatigue, I think, is real for people. And I think 10 years ago, if you got on Netflix, it's like you could have a Stranger Things moment, where it's like you blew up, right? With no name actors, pretty much, I guess, Winona Ryder. But like now it feels to me like people are almost tired of like just paying monthly. And I mean, we all still do it, but it's like nothing's jumping out. You have like a White Lotus every once in a while or something, but it's like nothing's like jumping out and screaming. That's like, dude, I don't know. When was the last time someone said, dude, you gotta subscribe to Netflix?
I haven't
Have
had
you
Netflix
seen this thing?
a year.
Yeah, it's like, dude, you gotta be on HBO. Like the new, I mean, I guess Pluribus is that, or Severance was kind of that, but it's like these one-off blips that's people literally go like, man, I could have just subscribed for 1 month. Before it was like, dude, how have you not seen Game of Thrones? How have you not seen Stranger Things? Like, dude, you got it. Like they have the best shows. So to me, it's like, because they've sort of fumbled it a little bit with bad choices in the creative selection department, it feels like there's a big opportunity for indie filmmakers to make the stuff that's not on those platforms. And people are sick enough of their sort of bank account getting drained $17.99 a month that it's like a $5 rental for something that's by a real artist that looks cool is like kind of a no-brainer, and I know that's weirdly optimistic, but I think people, in my opinion, want to go back to movie theaters. I saw a Fandango report, like the theater company, that said that 25% of moviegoers are Gen Z, which to me is like, nobody in the industry is saying that. They're saying nobody wants to go. And it's like, well, dude, 1 out of 4 people is wearing white socks. They're Gen Z. You know what I mean? Like pull it all the way up, man. And it's like, they don't have disposable income, but they're still going to the movies. And when I go to my local theater, it's young kids too. And so they sort of they have this, they're almost like trying to scare us that it's all dying. And it's like, I think out in the world, it's like the movies aren't good enough for people to go to theaters all the time, but people want to. And the movies, people don't know where to find good indie movies streaming for less than $20, Letterboxd, but it's like, I think there's desire for it, for real craft, I think is out there.
I have had the most, because like working in trying to figure out the physical space, basically the opposite of your coin is, and now that you're getting people from other companies calling you, hopefully this is, I'm only a couple weeks into this as well, maybe that'll happen soon. But like I've been reaching out to theaters and stuff to try to like do like an indie film night, which is like a local filmmaker shows a screening. Yep. And it's like, I live in LA. It's like, we're everywhere. We all have a DCP of some film that played 3 festivals and we had to pay $500 for that hard drive, so, but one of the, I think it's like you were saying, there's a lot of marketing right now, and it's very, very, very good to say that you don't like this. And it's AI has been doing a very good job of it, of, like, this is going to take away everything. And it's like the companies that are making the marketing for it are the ones that are also in charge of the product. So they're telling you exactly what you want you to feel right now. And this is a very manipulative art form. It's like my whole job as a creative is to make you feel something. And they've made a whole group of people feel something that I don't really think is true. That, like you were saying, yes, they're not going to these big budget movies anymore because you guys are only looking at analytic sheets and you're making choices based off of like what you think will be the best profit. But I think if you were like, oh, this is a filmmaker that lives down the street that's going to come into this movie theater and do a Q&A, and we're going to show 4 short films from local filmmakers before it. It's like a mini screening kind of thing. And And so that's what I'm trying to pitch, but it's very hard for them to like think outside the box and be like, oh, well, how will we make any money? And it's like, well, you make money off of popcorn anyway. There's nobody in the theater right now for whatever this movie is. I'm saying, give me that Tuesday night screening. I'm going to bring in 4 filmmakers. Like you were saying, they're going to bring in their whole audience. So if 50 people come in here and buy a $10 popcorn, you just made more than you would have doing, Star Wars 19 or whatever. Like you were saying, 92 is I think what you said, because there probably are 19 of them already. But so it's really, I think the business side of it is having trouble understanding what this would look like, because everything is so financially motivated. And you're like, I think the movie theater, I made a Substack about this a couple weeks ago, and I was like, give the tech companies the internet and we'll take the theaters back. Like, if you don't want it, like, give it back to us, because you've ruined it. It's like, we don't want to watch 30 minutes of trailers. That's why people aren't going to the movie theater. It's not because the movie sucks. It's because you put 30 minutes of trailers and commercials to stuff that is not even in a movie theater. It's like, nobody wants to see an Apple trailer for something that's streaming while they're about to watch, and so I think, trying to get like a little bit more local with it as, and that's been my whole kind of philosophy with it is, going more local, trying to see if we can actually get a community of stuff going. Cause I can't believe I lived in LA for 15 years and there's not a movie theater that exclusively helps independent filmmakers out to screen their things. There are a lot of indie film screening places, but they're showing old movies. They're showing, resurgence things. They're showing a 70mm print of something that's out now. And there's really no place. There's not like an open screen. I talked to some like musicians over the weekend. They were like, it's baked into our industry. It's like, I can get on a stage anywhere in this town tonight and play a couple songs for 5 minutes. It's like open screenings are not a thing. And I was like, yeah, there aren't. And I was like, why is that the case, that nobody can like think creatively of like, your movie theater is going to disappear, and if they all disappear, I'm just going to buy one. So I'm trying to work with you. Like, I don't want to buy it. I want to work with all these filmmakers to like, your local theater would be like, show yours and then 3 shorts from your neighborhood, like with the filmmakers there. And like, they get a cut of the ticket sales, but help them market it, help them do these things. And I think we got to get back to a little bit more of a community film engagement. Maybe talk about your friend's movie instead of the newest Netflix release. Like,
and there's this kind of old, in my opinion, maybe this is mean, this sort of old person perspective, like old, like Congress person perspective, right? Like a congressman, that young people, which they would include anyone 40 down probably, right, just want to sit on their couch and watch Netflix and get food delivered to their lap. You know what I mean? And it's like, that's the problem. That I think the problem there is that that's every Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday night for everybody. So it's like, people, that's not special and new anymore. That's just like how life is. And so I think the reason that people want to go out to concerts and want to go out to like everything you're doing with movie theaters, I think is brilliant, because it's like, as long as the experience is valuable, people will pay for it, But if you're in one of these theaters where they're like making you like pick your seat, and because they don't want you to be next to someone with the sniffles, or like it's just this weird thing, or it feels very clean, and it's like there's no ambiance or whatever. Like I think if we go back to like the 82-year-old ticket taker taking your ticket and ripping it as you go through, it'd fix a lot. If I was at a theater in where was I? In South Dakota, and it was this insanely beautiful experience where it was just like, I forget the name of the theater, but it looked like old Egyptian stuff. And you're in LA, so there's pretty theaters there. But like, it was a new experience for me. It was like free refills on the drink, free refills on the popcorn whenever you wanted. They were all in like bow ties and vests. Everyone there looked like happy about movies, and there was like a spot where you could hang out afterwards and do the sort of classic like parking lot debrief about a movie with like chairs and coffee and all this. And I'm like, man, like they've missed it. The sort of tech bros, I think, miss the fact that speed isn't what we all want, because we've got speed now. I can download it, watch it, rent it right now. That's here. We actually want to go back and have like a luxurious, weird little high value experience. And I don't think theaters have picked up on it. They're like, quick, fast, swipe the thing here, go back up. Yep. Over. And it's like, dude,
after the school closed, we moved down to the South Bay for where my wife got a new job at a new school. And so we've been going to local theaters down here, which is all new. And there's one close by that's definitely a big multiplex, but they do a $6 screening on Tuesdays. And I make a point to always go to the person, and I will not use their self-serve kiosk. And they're like, oh, you can use that.
Sure.
And it's like, that's like, but I want you to have a job, so I'm coming to you. Like, it's like, I also don't, I'm just tired of learning all your infrastructure. And maybe I'm turning into the old man, but it's like, I don't need to go any faster. I've been going so fast for 20 years as you kept speeding it up. Now I'm trying to slow back down because I want a quality over quantity of everything now. I go to local places to buy. Like I'm not on Amazon anymore, probably because of my bad experience with them not paying me for my movie. But it's like a local hardware store. Is it 25% more? Yeah, but I only buy the one thing I need. It's like I'm not buying 100 things that are getting added on. I'm getting one specific thing. And so I think there is, you were saying the Gen Z, that's, what I'm teaching. There's a spirit, they want an experience that is a little bit more like they made the choice. And all this stuff on the internet that's just like, this is what I think you'll like. And I was like, you guys have been following me for 15 years and you are so far off of what I want to see. I don't want to watch any of this stuff. And I've given you thumbs down. And so I think there is there was a article, I can text it to you, but I think it was on Vulture where a guy drove across country to look at all these movie theaters. Like he went to like 20 or 30 of them, I think, because of basically the same thing of like, we don't want movie theaters. And it's like, that's a marketing ploy. They want the theaters to go away because if you stay in your house all day long and they deliver everything to you, you'll never meet anybody. You'll never have an experience that could change your life. It's like you're never going to laugh, like the communal experience of a theater and laughing with 300 people. It's like they laugh louder. I remember I went to opening weekend of Borat when I was in college, which would probably be a movie that is not even made anymore. And it was just like, the amount of people from all different walks of life sitting in that theater, all just giggling hysterically. And you're like, we're all having this community experience and we've really lost that. And I think artists have lost it the most because now we're all creating, I'm in my garage, you're in your office. Like we're all creating alone. And then this is the way we have to talk to each other because there's not like a third place where I can go watch your movie and hang out and share time with other filmmakers. And it's really becoming difficult to like, I don't know, get the business people to go, you might lose 10 or 20 or 30%, but you're going to have 5 times the amount of people in here that are talking about your movie theater, which is a year from now, you're going to have a different audience.
There's, I don't want to ramble on. There's a spot by my house that used to be a hair salon. Nobody could stay there. It was like a coffee shop. It was all these different things. They turned it into a board game and trading card game spot. And I was like, that's cute. I'm so sorry you're going to lose all of your money on this little fantasy adventure. Like literally like Pokemon cards and Magic the Gathering. Dude, that thing is packed every Friday night. And I'm like, this is awesome. Like, where are all of you people? And it's like, they're probably scrolling Magic the Gathering TikToks all week. But then Friday night, there's like a bunch of people out there. And I'm like, people want to go places. People want to do things. Like I watched Naked Gun in theater. And had an amazing reaction because the theater was packed. And then I watched it again later at my home. And I realized as I was watching it, I'm not laughing nearly as hard. And granted, I've already seen it, so it's not a surprise. But there's something about that sort of thing that's like all these people together doing a thing. It's like it's more fulfilling. And we probably sound very old right now, but it is. It's just a better experience. And I think about that more than I think about the time I watched it by myself.
We're similar in age, but we've seen both sides of it now, and I think that's what we're like. So those of you that think we're old, it's like we've just seen, and I'm not saying we go back to everything that was that because there were a lot of things that were not good, but I think we've realized that if we let 4 companies dictate our every movement of how we interact with the world, that also leads to severe isolation and depression. I mean, the data is out now of like all this isolation like is way worse than smoking cigarettes every day. I think some of the reports were like that's actually worse for your health to be alone all the time. And so I think there's a lot of people, Luke, you're one of them that I'm glad you sat down with me to chat today, that we are trying things, but it's going to require, you're going to have to get uncomfortable for one, which I think that's not something humans are just very good at in general. And also because I don't know if this is going to work or fail or not, but I do know what's currently working is failing. So why not try something different? Even if it fails, like we're right where we started, but at least we know more information now. And so I think filmmakers, but this is going to come down to I think the artist. I was talking to another filmmaker on Tuesday, and I was like, how do we reteach like the consumer, the viewer, like, this is how we want you to watch our movies. We never wanted you to watch them on Amazon. I don't want you to watch this movie alone. Like, this movie's not good alone. I didn't make it with you sitting alone. I mean, you can if that's the only way you can watch it. But ideally, you buy a DVD and you watch it with your friends. Buy it once and share it with 20 people. I don't care. I want people to watch it in this communal experience. And then afterwards, because my movies are a little, cryptic, as some consumers and reporters have said. But it's because I want you to have a conversation afterward. You're all going to get a different experience. And like you were saying, The Naked Gun, watching it at home, it's just different. And it's like, you don't, unless you're having a whole group of people over, and most people are not, they're just watching it alone on their phone or whatever they have. And it's like, there's a lot of things that go into these. And it's like, every choice I made was to be seen on the biggest screen possible, with a group of people digesting it simultaneously. And so the goal with the movie theater is like to get it back to that. And so like, I think what you're doing with like the digital side of it, I think we joked around, but it was like, I hope you send me some movies to help them get their films on physical and into movie theaters. And
absolutely,
I think we just got to start, we got to start helping these filmmakers out again and telling them our experiences. Cause it's like, we've already been burnt. And we don't want you to do it again.
Part of the problem is that I'm sure that whatever analytics company Amazon or AMC theaters are using looked at my screening of The Naked Gun and said, well, how fast were the ticket checkouts? What was the average checkout speed? And that was like rated as good or bad. And then they said, and what was the theater fullness rating? Was it uncomfortably full? Was it uncomfortably empty? And then they just did the math on that. And they said if it was a good or bad screening. And it's like, dude, I don't think anybody in that theater cared. It was the vibe in the room, to be weird and artsy about it. And they can't measure that. They can't measure it, but they're trying like heck to measure everything else. And it's just not working. I
think the metrics, we got to stop judging everything by, all these choices cannot be made by the analytics anymore. And one of the things I've learned with like starting this YouTube is like, my whole goal was like, it's like Mr. Rogers, it's like PBS, it's slow, it's longer. I want you to slow down. I'm hoping in 2 years when it finally is caught on, like, I think the energy is going to shift in the room a little bit. But I mean, I was the first one when I started to go through. I'm about to make a video of like what I learned getting to 500 subscribers, and was like the gurus and looking at the analytics too much and all these things of like telling me what I should do, despite the audience growing every day. But it's maybe 1 or 2 subscribers a day, and you're like, well, why don't I have 100 today? And you're like, because you're nobody. And I don't mean that to hurt your feelings, but it's like, I've been doing this for 20 years, and you can look at my IMDb with over 100 things, and I'm still doing it one person at a day. So we just got to slow down a little bit, and it's know that you were talking, it took 10 years from that short film to a feature. And then that was like, you're still trying to get another feature done another 4 or 5 years later. It's like, this is a marathon. It's not a sprint, and we all got to slow down a little bit and share our knowledge with each other. So, I appreciate you sitting down. I think this is going to be very, very helpful for new filmmakers, and also just give them an understanding of, different possibilities, and everything's not right for everybody. It's like you were saying, maybe sell your film for the 50-50 and you're never going to get any money because it's a big, big distributor and you see an end goal of like, I want to make these kind of movies. But there just needs to be different entry points for different people. So to kind of end this off, Luke, if you want to kind of tell the audience what you're working on, how they can follow you, how they can learn more about this, a little shameless self-promotion.
Yeah, I go by, my last name's Covert, right? Luke Covert. So it's just Covert Film on everything. If anybody wants to follow me, I'm on Instagram and TikTok and YouTube and all of that. And then our next project is a feature film called The Library. That's like a thriller that we're trying to shoot in July in Pennsylvania here. So we just got our big location sort of deal went through, which is awesome. And so we're kind of moving forward on that and casting. And so, yeah, I'm building the platform that's on my website. You can find links everywhere, but I'm also trying to make movies too. And I just want the platform to be out soon enough so I can use it on The Library, like in the fall.
Well, that concludes our conversation. I hope you learned something new, and I hope this helps you in your process as you're making your feature film. I know when I was out there was a lot of conflicting information, and sometimes it's hard to discern what is right for your project. Every project is different, so I hope you learned something that will help you along the way. If you are a filmmaker that has already made a feature film and you're looking to get it out there in the world, then I hope you will reach out to me at bronsoncreative.us. You'll see a little form at the bottom of that first page, and we can talk about your film. Maybe together we can help it get seen. So I hope you have a beautiful day, do something nice for someone, and I'll see you next time.